Hi, Ghosties. I'm Macy.
And I'm Natalie.
We're back with volume 2 of Our Haunted Woods.
Woo! So scary. I'm very excited.
We covered the Wychwood Forest last time, so if you're interested, go check that out. I think it was episode 39. There is something otherworldly about woods and forests for me, and you too,
yes.
I assume. It always feels foreign to me, and knowing that there are things out there that I probably can't see, be it animals or paranormal, it just makes me feel a little uneasy.
A lot uneasy, yeah.
But in a way that I enjoy. It's like riding to the top of a roller coaster for me.
See, but I don't even really like roller coasters, so I can't agree with you.
Really?
I get on them strictly out of like peer pressure because everyone's like, yeah, let's go ride it. And I'm like, okay.
That's kind of sad.
And I am terrified, but I do it. And then everybody gets off like, that was awesome. And I'm like shaking, visibly shaking. Like,
I am so sorry if I ever pressured you on a roller coaster.
No, but it's because I'm not going to be the one to be like, I'll wait for you guys down here. I refuse.
Okay, well.
But anyway, yeah, no, forests don't excite me.
I like roller coasters. I like the thought of a forest. Maybe not a forest at night, but
no,
looking into a forest. I don't know. It excites me.
The nature calls to you. It doesn't call to me. I am happy with a bag of chips on the couch, as we know.
But today we're talking about 3 different haunted locations. We've got the Black Forest in Germany, Wychwood Forest in the UK, and the Devil's Tramping Ground in North Carolina. We've had a few people suggest the Devil's Tramping Ground to me, like several people in the comments, and I'm really glad you did because it is a strange place that I had never heard before, and I'm really excited to share it all with you.
Oh, I'm ready.
You go ahead and tell us what our tea is because I don't know what it is.
Oh, so our tea today, I actually picked it up at a Japanese festival the other day. It's an Earl Grey tea. It's Ocean Tea Bag. I don't know if that's the brand. Everything else is written in Japanese, but it's Earl Grey. We're going to put pictures on the screen because the bag is a little cat.
Really cute.
Really cute. We have a few others that I picked up that we're going to be trying, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, I decided to go safe with something I know we liked, Earl Grey, so let's go.
Tastes like Earl Grey.
I'm a fan. Never lets me down.
In southwest Germany, nearly bordering Switzerland and France, sits a sprawling forest that covers over 6,000 kilometers squared or 2,300 square miles. Its dark, dense trees and rolling fog that sweep over the land like a mist engulfing all that it contacts has been the site of many tales of horror and inspiration for the darkest of fairy tales.
Great.
The Black Forest in Baden-Württemberg, Germany, or Schwarzwald,
German.
It's very German, is an ancient forest where it's said lives a number of witches, sorcerers, werewolves, and possibly the devil himself.
Interesting. Witches.
It is a setting that the Brothers Grimm use for many of their tales, and it's where we get Black Forest ham.
What?
Right? I think that's my favorite fact about this. I finished up my research on this. I was like, Black Forest, ham?
You're a deli meat person.
I do like ham. So yeah, if it excites you like it does me, there you go.
That's interesting. Okay.
But yeah, there are also witches.
Dark Tales and Ham.
Tales and Ham.
That's the title of the episode.
And cuckoo clocks. We'll get into that though.
Okay.
It's a mysterious place. The forest has been the epicenter of spooky happenings for as long as history has recorded in this region. It first got its name from the Romans, who called it Silva Nigra, or Black Forest, and they were too afraid to trek inside because of the densely packed firs and pines that covered the sky above, making it as dark as night within. So they're like, oh, I don't know about this place. Today, the region is a super popular destination for tourists, boasting many beautiful trails, spas, waterfalls, historic sites, and cuckoo clocks, as I said. They have both the largest and the smallest cuckoo clock to exist in this region. So before the Romans arrived, the forest was known as Abnoba Mons, named after a Celtic deity. Abnoba was worshipped within the forest. She was a river and forest goddess. And as time went on, the forest was used as the home to the wealthy and spiritual. There still remains the ruins of ancient castles, monasteries, and military fortifications within. It played a large role in logging, and there were heavy mining operations conducted in and around this area as well. As I said, the Brothers Grimm set some of their spookiest stories in the Black Forest, and this region seems to be where they got a good portion of their stories from. So they kind of went around collecting oral tales, and a lot of them came from this region. Just like a lot of fairy tales that we have, or were first told orally. They were just kind of like little legends.
Yeah.
And then eventually someone wrote them down. The Black Forest region of Germany had many like Hansel and Gretel, Little Red Riding Hood, Rapunzel, and Sleeping Beauty, and a few more. But
yeah,
this forest is full of magic and wonder, but with all of those magical legends comes some paranormal activity.
Of course.
The Black Forest is known as one of the most haunted forests in the world. I feel like I say that all the time, though.
Everything we talk about is one of the most haunted.
This is it.
But I believe it.
It is a large area to cover, so I picked out a few places and sightings because it is vast, and you can't just be like, haunt. Like, there are different places that have different hauntings within. So this is not the totality of all paranormal activity within the Black Forest. I just kind of handpicked a few
Some
little
of your
things.
faves.
There are several locations within the forest that are supposedly full of spirits. One haunting specter that is a very popular legend of Black Forest is Der Grossman. Now, it's not totally clear if this figure is simply internet lore or actual lore of this German forest, but either way, it's a bit frightening. Thought I'd share it. It's popular.
Okay.
And you need to know.
Okay.
Der Grossman is known as a very tall and horribly disfigured man seen walking through the forest with large, bulging eyes.
Oh, no.
He is like a creepy Slender Man-esque creature that traipses through the trees looking for young children. Side note, we talked about how you don't really believe in cryptids.
Yes.
There were a few people that commented on our last video. Cryptids are just like demonic beings, or could be just demonic beings.
Mm-hmm.
That one made them so much more scary to me. Could you believe in them that way?
I did see some of those comments, and maybe. It makes more sense to me that it's something demonic than it just is. Like, it's just Mothman. Like, I can't get behind that. But if you're saying like, oh no, it's a
demon that holds like dominion over this patch of land.
Sure. Yeah. I probably sound insane. You
No,
saying
you don't.
that out loud? What are we talking about? No, but yeah, I could
speak for yourself. I've always believed in this stuff.
I know, but yeah, I could believe it more. Yes.
Okay, but so back to Der Grossman. He's a creepy Slenderman-esque creature that traipses through the trees looking for young children.
Why?
I don't know.
I know Slenderman isn't real, but when did that come out? Like 2012, 2013?
Maybe before.
I don't know.
Like
I think that's
2010-ish,
probably when I found out about it, was junior high time.
Mm-hmm.
Terrified. Knew it wasn't real. Still scared.
I was never afraid of Slenderman.
It just the thought.
Yeah.
And like
The
I'd
thought
see
of it,
so
yeah.
many videos and things.
And I think Der Grossman is scarier than Slenderman.
Oh, I mean, sounds like it.
Some people said that it's Slenderman's origin stories
Hmm.
or something like that, but
Interesting.
I don't know. Also, he's like only in Germany. So it's said that when children enter the forest, Der Grossman will chase them down. And no matter how fast or nimble the children may be, they are no match for this monster who knows the trees and layout of the Black Forest. If he is able to catch them, which he most certainly will if you're in the forest long enough, then he forces them to confess their sins and any misdeeds they may have committed. Only then will he consider letting them go back to their homes. And if not, then the children are never seen again.
They're children. I stole from my mom's purse. Like, what are they gonna say? Confess to their sins? They're children.
Like, and just like I stole from my mom's purse, or I chopped down the cherry tree. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh
Things
my
like that.
god, that's really sad.
It's a really scary story.
I don't like that at all. Or is
But
that
like every legend, it's like stay out of the forest or Der Grossman will get you.
Yeah, I was about to say,
know?
is it like the boogeyman? Like, is it something just told to kids to not wander off?
Mm-hmm. That's possible. A lot of these are possible.
Yeah, it always is, but
And I don't know if I believe in Der Grossman. I do believe that there are entities in darkness within this forest everywhere.
in every forest, I
Yes.
do believe that.
Aside from Der Grossman, there are many claims of ghosts being seen within the vast expanse of these woods. There have been accounts of sorrowful spirits lurking amongst the trees at night, possibly some of the souls lost to the forest in history. Many of the castles left to ruins within the forest are haunted as well, as you would imagine. I'd just castle haunted
Yes.
immediately, especially
Yes.
an old castle.
But I would still love to go.
Me too. This includes Eberg Castle. It's here where hikers and explorers have seen ladies dressed in nice, elegant attire that appear in the halls at night. And there are ghostly bowling games that can be heard on certain days throughout the year.
What?
I love the idea of ghosts just playing
Bowling?
like bowling at night, like once a month. They get together for their bowling league.
Speaking of, and this is off topic. Speaking of ladies in attire from another time, I recently, yesterday, went to a museum where they had some clothing on display, and I stood there staring at this dress, thinking a person was in this dress.
Mm-hmm.
Someone wore this dress.
Have you ever been to a thrift store?
Okay, no, but I mean, this is from like a long time. This person is not alive. We know that the person that wore this is not on the earth anymore. Who is she? What?
Want to know everything?
Yes, and it makes me sad. I don't know why, but staring at objects that people once had, or like their jewelry. I'm like, they didn't know. One day they were wearing this, and now I, in 2024, am just like, oh wow, they wore that jewelry back in the day. And it just feels so like I mean, obviously I'm not like that at museums, but other kids and young people go and they just don't really appreciate it.
I think that'd be cool. Like the thought of like one day someone will be looking at my Ghosteas sweatshirt on display and like a piece of me will live on.
I don't know. It just makes me feel strange.
Yeah.
I literally stood there and I was just like staring like quietly, just like, oh my God.
You're interesting person.
Yeah, but it just makes my soul feel weird. I don't know.
This is a weird side tangent. Do you ever get thrown into an like existential dread when you're like, okay. But like when you're driving on a big highway and you see all of these people and like every single car has at least one person in there. And every single person has their own individual life and circumstances and things that they're going through and things they're heading toward.
And I can't believe it.
That is too much to fathom.
I can't believe it.
I used to spend a lot of time in traffic. It'd be like, and sometimes an hour and a half to my job, an hour and a half back. And I would spend most of my time just sitting there like, yeah, all of these people.
Every day. And so going to museums, I love it. But looking at old artifacts, I'm like, I don't feel like I should be looking at this. I feel like, I don't know.
Plus the like haunted aspect of it too.
Yeah.
Like is there a part of their spirit that still lingers within? Like, was this their favorite dress? And there's kind of like a residual haunting connected to it where they went to a ball in this gown, or this necklace was at every important event of their life. That kind of thing.
Okay, sorry, way off topic.
Yeah, way
back
off topic.
To the forest.
We were talking about bowling.
The ghosts are bowling.
The ghosts are bowling. But I threw this in here because I was like, bowling ghosts in ancient Germany. Like, I was confused. I don't know. When I think of bowling, I think of like middle-aged men in America.
Yes.
You know, in their matching bowling shirts. I don't know. Bowling has been traced to articles found in the tomb of an Egyptian child buried in 5200 BC. The primitive implements included 9 pieces of stone at which a stone ball was rolled, the ball having first to roll through an archway made of 3 pieces of marble.
That is so cute.
Another ancient discovery was the Polynesian game of ula make, also utilizing pins and balls of stone. The stones were to be rolled at targets 60 feet away, a distance which today still is one of the basic regulations of tin pins. I got this information from like bowl.org or something.
That's crazy.
Bowling at pins probably originated in ancient Germany, not as a sport but as a religious ceremony. And Martin Luther is credited with settling on 9 as the ideal number of pins.
Interesting.
The game moved throughout Europe, the Scandinavian countries, and finally to the United States, with the earliest known reference to bowling at pins in America made by author Washington Irving about 1818.
Interesting.
It is an ancient sport, and I did not appreciate bowling as much as I should have.
No, because I don't like to bowl.
Me neither. But yeah, just side tangent. And the ghosts side tangents. The ghosts are bowling at Triberg Castle.
That's the title.
There are several lakes within the forest, and each of them have their own stories to go along with it. Feldsee Lake is at the base of Feldberg and is said to contain dark and devious spirits. It was shrouded in such darkness that many of the witches of the area refused to go near and trekked an even further distance into the woods to perform their rituals.
So the witches don't even mess with it.
At Feldsee Lake, priests of times past, in an attempt to help their congregation, would bottle up dark spirits and demonic entities that were plaguing families in the area. So if someone was like, I have a demon in my house, the priest would go and they would perform some kind of rite or ritual and bottle them up inside these glass jars.
Okay.
Once captured, it said that they would row out to the middle of Feldsee Lake and drop the bottles, trapping the spirits for eternity at the bottom of the lake with no way to escape.
Oh no.
Unfortunately, for the people living in the area, there were accidents. Several of the bottles are said to have burst at the bottom of the lake, releasing the evil spirits, now angrier than before. And the demons now roam the area of the lake, and it's said that if you hear your name being called as you turn your back to the water, you should keep walking and get out of there as soon as possible. For if you turn around, the dark entities will drag you down under the surface of the lake, banished from the world as they were banished years ago.
My God.
Isn't that frightening?
That's horrifying. Oh my gosh. But that's just the rule. I think we need like a rule chart. Our 10 commandments of the Ghosties is like, if someone's calling your name, run. Doesn't matter who it is.
That's
you're
rule
at work,
number 1.
And your boss is like, hey, Macy. And you're like, ah! Yes. It applies in every aspect of life. Don't let anyone talk to you.
The Mummelsee Lake is another smaller and shallow lake in the Black Forest. Legend says that it is inhabited by nymphs and ruled by an undead king. Old lore claims that the Mummelsee king guards the lake and within it the entrance to the center of the earth, an entrance to hell. Just like at Feldsee, if the Mummelsee king spots a woman that he deems beautiful, he is likely to drag her down to his lair under the water with the help of the nymphs living in the lake.
Oh my god.
Lots of dragging down under.
I don't like that.
The last thing that I want to touch on within the Black Forest are all of the claims of witchcraft. For centuries, there have been claims of practicing witches living out in these woods. Many of them have been accused of using dark magic to get what they want. This area wasn't untouched by the witch trials that swept over the world centuries ago. Many witches were executed in Germany during the 15 and 1600s. Within the Black Forest stands some of the locations that these executions took place. In Triberg, if you hike out into the woods, you'll find the Triberg Gallows. A map from the Benedictine Abbey of St. George shows that the gallows were erected in the 16th century. In 1721, the wooden gallows that stood in this spot were replaced with stone gallows, and it is at this spot where a recorded 15 executions took place, 12 of them for witchcraft. Very sad. The bodies of those executed, including the suspected witches, were buried near the site, and people claim to still be able to sense the presence of those who lost their lives here. Many paranormal investigators have hiked up to the spot and camped out underneath the gallows, capturing EVPs of the spirits that still linger here.
Why?
Why camp there?
Yes.
There are a lot of people who really enjoy scaring themselves.
I mean, I like anything witchy. I don't know, I've always been intrigued, but I would not want to hang around. I just want to hear the stories.
Yeah, I agree.
Sleeping there?
Yeah, it's a little much for me.
I just said if I see a dress at a museum, I'm like, oh God. I could not imagine seeing a place where people were actually executed.
I feel like that'd be really, really heavy.
Yes.
I've been to the Tower of London. It is heavy. It is heavy. The next location we'll talk about is Wychwood Forest in Oxfordshire, UK. It is a 502 hectare or 1,240 acre forest just northwest of Oxford. It was once a much larger forest, but through the years, pieces of the forest fell into different noblemen's hands, and it has shrunk to the size that it is today.
Sad.
Wychwood Forest Trust is a foundation that has a goal to protect and restore spaces that once belonged to this historic forest. So if you live near or plan to visit, their site seems to have some good information for tourists, like for a good spot to hike and things like that, and there's a place to donate if that's something you're passionate about. It is believed that the area of Wychwood Forest was settled as far back as 3000 BC because of the long barrows and later round barrows found from the Bronze Age. There are remains of Roman villas in the region near Northleigh and Stonesfield, and it later fell into Saxon control where their settlements seemed to be restricted to the woodland edge or large clearings within, so they didn't really mess with the trees yet.
Mm-hmm.
Then, sometime during the reign of Ethelred II, from 978 to 1016, a royal hunting lodge was established in Woodstock. Wychwood was recorded in the Domesday Book of 1086, and it was designated by the king as a royal forest and hunting ground at that time. Many parts of the forest at this point were held by various lords of the time, and by 1300, it was divided into 3 portions. It went on like this for several hundred years, gradually dwindling away until 1778 when the Royal Navy procured 500 trees and locals began to kind of help themselves to firewood. By 1857, only 10 square miles remained of Wychwood as royal forest. As I said, groups like Wychwood Forest Trust have helped in restoring parts of the ancient forest, and pieces of it still remain today. So they've kind of planted trees and blocked some parts of it off, like you can't build there or do anything like that. And though it's much smaller than it had been, hauntings still occur.
Of course. Anything that's that old, it's just, there has to be something.
Everything is that old.
Yeah.
Or most.
But you know what I mean.
The most common occurrence inside Wychwood is the feeling of being touched by disembodied hands when nobody else is around. Possibly the worst thing possible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, hearing things, okay, seeing things, whoa.
We've talked about
touched.
this. Don't touch. Yeah.
Visitors often report feeling a tap on their shoulders, but when they turn around, nobody's near. Others have said they hear children crying in the distance when no child can be seen. And there are a number of sightings all over the forest of different ghostly horse-drawn carriages or hearing the sounds of horse hooves galloping around them.
I kind of like that.
So horse hooves makes a lot of sense to me, especially if it was a hunting ground. Like they're riding around on their horses, going hunting, stag hunting or whatever they royals did back in the day.
I can get down with the animal hauntings. I can't get down with the people.
Like you will
I don't like
accept them. Okay.
Yeah. No, I believe all that.
Okay, I was like, wait a second, why are we even doing this?
No, I believe it. I just would rather be surrounded by animals.
Haunted by a horse than by a person?
Yes.
Agreed. One of the most known spirits of Wychwood is the ghost of Amy Ropesart, which, side note, there's a lot of side notes here, I'm so sorry. As I was finishing up research for this episode, friend of the pod, Miss Wendy Weather, put out a whole video on Amy Robsart. So shout out Windy Weather. If for any extra details you want to know on her, go to their YouTube page. It was really, really good info.
That's so crazy. We're all
the connection.
connected.
Yes. I was literally finishing up and then I got on my phone and was like scrolling through and I saw it and I was like, you gotta be joking.
That's cool.
Amy Robsart, born in 1532, was the wife of the Earl of Leicester, Robert Dudley. Robert Dudley was very close friends with Queen Elizabeth I. Some say too close. Nothing confirmed. But Amy was very sickly. It is assumed that she may have had breast cancer, and in 1560, she was found dead mysteriously at the bottom of the stairs of her home.
Oh.
The manner of her death is unclear to this day, though most believe it to have been either an accident or possibly even self-inflicted.
Oh.
Because she was just so tired of being sick.
Oh my god.
And her husband was spending a lot of time with the queen.
Ugh.
It's a lot. She had a broken neck and a couple of deep gashes on the top of her head. After her death, legend says that Robert Dudley had a hard time sleeping in their home from then on because he would often be woken in the middle of the night by screaming coming from the bottom of those same stairs. So the legend goes that years later, in August of 1588, Robert was out riding in Wychwood Forest when he spotted a young woman walking in the trees. He recognized her as his late wife. Amy approached Robert, telling him that he would be with her again in 10 days. 10 days later, on September 4th, 1588, Robert died of stomach cancer, having shown almost no signs of illness before that 10-day period. Legend says today that if you encounter Lady Amy while on a walk through Wychwood, then the same fate will befall you, leaving you with only 10 days left.
Died on my birthday.
He did.
Wow. And Beyonce's birthday.
And Beyonce's birthday.
Wow.
I knew that would get you.
I couldn't pay attention to anything else after you said the day. But that's insane.
That's crazy. Especially he wasn't sick or outwardly sick. No one knew he was sick. And then 10 days later, after being told.
Would you want to know?
No.
No?
No.
Would you rather see your time or everybody else's time?
Mine.
Really?
Yeah. I would be so worried about everyone all the time.
All the time. And then if it changes, like one decision they make and it changes and you're just like, oh, all the time.
Yeah.
You'd be a crazy person.
I would.
I'd have to be locked away.
Same. I agree. I find
myself saying that a lot on this podcast.
You do.
It's any small change in my life. I'm like, I'd have to be locked away.
The 10 days thing, though, all I could think about was like 7 days.
The ring. I knew it. Yeah, me too. And I was trying not to bring it up.
Sorry. Sorry that I did.
So hard.
In Roger Long's book, Curious Oxfordshire, he tells of a legend of the ghost of a horse near Charlbury. This horse is called Phantom Grey. It is a large white horse that is often seen at night walking along the road next to cars, then leaping through the air over hedges out of sight. So people will be just driving down the road and suddenly there's this large horse beside them. And they're like, what the heck? Where's this horse coming from? And it'll just leap and disappear.
Crazy.
That's a cool haunting.
Yeah, I like that one.
I'd probably wreck my car.
Oh, 100%.
Nearby, there is a road that runs between Charlbury and Finstock, where a phantom coach and horse are rarely seen, but often heard. Many have reported hearing the clattering of horse hooves and carriage wheels turning while walking nearby. In the book Oxfordshire Ghosts by Joe Robbins, he details a group of people from Charlbury who decided to stop the carriage along in its path. They placed a barricade across the road where the ghostly carriage was often heard, and they just waited. As they sat for what seemed like hours, they began to hear what sounded like horses galloping. The sound got closer and closer, but no horses ever came into view. When the sound grew so loud that it seemed as if the coach were right on top of the barricade, it came to a sudden stop, and after several moments, they heard the sound of the coach turning around and heading back in the direction that it came from. They still didn't see anything, they could just hear it. The group was shocked and took down their barricade thinking they had succeeded, but just as they began to make their way back home, they all heard the unmistakable sound of those horse hooves clattering back toward them again, carrying on to their original destination.
What were they trying to do?
I don't know their intentions
Let them live or not live. I don't know. Let them just be.
I truly don't know.
What were you going to do if you caught it? Gotcha. What was the plan? Okay.
Capture it in a bottle and throw it down the bottom of a lake.
Hey.
I don't know.
If that works.
One of the spookier stories about a phantom near Wychwood comes from that same book. This story tells of a mother and her young son taking a stroll down a road in the old Wychwood Forest. As they begin to pass over a bridge, they both hear the sounds of a coach approaching from behind them. The mother pulls her son aside and they stand at the edge, just waiting for the horse to pass by, but nothing ever comes. So the mother, knowing she hears the distinct sounds of hooves on the road, turns around and sees nothing there. There's nobody, nothing. She's like, I know I heard that. As soon as she turned around, the sound ceased too. The mother is concerned at this point and just looks at her son. And that's when her son points up in the direction where the sound comes from. The boy says to his mother, "The lady in that carriage wants me to go over there." Her son was unbothered by this, but as he began to walk in the direction he was pointing, The mother knew in her gut that something wasn't right. She grabbed her child by the arm, stopping him in his tracks, and that's when the sound of the horse and carriage began again, this time as if receding back where it came from and slowly disappearing.
They're just gonna take the kid?
I think so.
Oh my god.
The mother took her son and raced home, but later became curious about the incident. I would have asked them immediately.
Ask the kid?
Yeah, I don't think I'd wait till I got home.
Interrogation style.
Yeah.
Like, tell me what you know. Where were you on the day of today?
I was gonna say that. She asked him what he had seen, and that's when the child described in great detail a green carriage driven by 2 men in hats. The woman in the carriage wore a black jacket with a white blouse and a hat with feathers. Very detailed.
Mm-hmm.
The boy then looked a little concerned and told his mom that the woman looked very upset, as if she'd been crying and calling to him, beckoning him over with the waving of her hand. When his mother stopped him from going over there, the woman in the carriage became enraged and had a murderous stare. Then the carriage turned around and faded away in the distance. So she was mad. She was angry that the boy was stopped from coming to her.
I want to know her story.
Well, I don't want to know her story because she's trying to lure a child away from its mother.
Well, maybe she
into
lost her
ghostly
kid
carriage.
And so she's out hunting for children. That's so scary.
That's still terrifying.
That's really horrifying.
I don't like the idea of a ghost wanting children. It's like, it's giving Winifred Sanderson.
I was gonna say that. It's literally, you're reading my mind all the time. But yeah.
Lastly, we'll talk about the Devil's Tramping Ground. As I said, we had a few people suggest this place to us, and it's definitely spooky. Located in Chatham County in Bear Creek, North Carolina, sits a small, seemingly benign clearing of woods. It has been the site of legend and lore for centuries, and its location where it's said that the devil visits at night to pace around while he thinks of new and unusual ways to punish the people here on Earth. The Devil's Tramping Ground is a foot-wide path in an almost perfect circle, about 40 feet in diameter. What makes this location so strange is the fact that nothing but wiry grass will grow inside the circle. Nothing else. Just
No
this
trees,
weird,
no-
strange grass.
Wow.
Nothing. There are plenty of trees and vegetation around the circle, but nothing inside but a few scraggly patches. Locals have tried to plant things inside the circle, but nothing will grow. Everything just dies. And there have been some who tried to take the wiry grass out of the circle and transplant it somewhere else, and that'll die outside of the circle. So it is only capable of growing within.
Interesting.
This kind of reminds me of the Hoyabachu forest we talked
Mhm.
about. It also had that strange clearing the woods where
Yeah.
nothing really grew.
That's what I was thinking
Same
too.
thing, but this one has a path around that looks like it's been walked on.
See,
We'll
now
show
that's
pictures.
that's scary because I was thinking, okay, I never would really go into a forest, but if I was in one and there was a clearing, a path, I would go on it and I'd be like, wow, and I would use,
Yeah, I mean it's not that big, so you just
Mhm.
kind of be walking around.
Yeah, but it would feel like, oh, I can go there. I'll walk around there.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
There have also been plenty of stories claiming that items placed on the circular path or within the circle will not stay overnight either. Campers and explorers have claimed to have placed sticks, water bottles, and other items inside the circle while staying overnight. And when they wake up in the morning, their items will be a distant outside the circle, as if something thrust it away, out of its way. Like if you put a stick in the devil's path, he will
Throw it
throw
away.
it out of its way. Sometimes campers who are brave enough to set their tents or sleeping bags inside the circle at night will claim to hear footsteps around their tent throughout the night. And in one story, a father and son were camping for Boy Scouts and decided to place their tent inside the clearing. They woke up the next morning and were supposedly miles away from where they had made camp, deeper into the woods and far from the Devil's Tramping Ground.
Why would you take your Boy Scout?
I don't know. Maybe they didn't know. Maybe they didn't know the story and they're like, wow, look at this perfect clearing. Perfect place to set up camp. And they woke up just completely out of the way. Yeah. So the history of the Devil's Tramping Ground goes back centuries as well. It's believed to have been mysterious and possibly feared even before the American Revolution in the late 1700s. Written accounts date back to the 1800s, but oral tales of this little piece of land are believed to have been spoken of and passed down long before that. In 1925, a man born in 1851 and raised in North Carolina claimed to a newspaper that even his grandfather, so he's 74, 75 at this point, his grandfather knew of the Devil's Tramping Ground.
I don't like that.
And he claimed that it remained the same for all that time too. So it is unchanged. It looks
Just
the
a
exact
circle.
same.
Oh my god.
An article from 1882 claims that even the natives in the area were uneasy about the place. And in a 1905 newspaper story titled Weird Tale of a Fishing Frolic, not of fish caught, but of sights seen, we get one legend of a possible origin for the supernatural energy that many proclaim the area to have. So G.W. Pascal wrote, quote, "We visited a much greater wonder which presents some phenomenon which is also ascribed to His Satanic Majesty and known as the Devil's Tramping Ground. There is a legend that an Indian chief is buried here, and that the chief's tribe brought earth in blankets from beyond Deep River and planted it in wiregrass. There's a story still from long ago.
Yeah.
The legend is threefold. One claims that this is the location of an ancient native tribe who would burn fires and perform dances in the area, leaving the soil so disturbed by their footprints that nothing would ever grow there again.
Okay.
So just constant walking and tramping on it. Another says that this same tribe had a bloody battle on the site, and the blood of all those who were lost in this battle seeped into the ground, leaving it barren.
Okay.
Lastly, another legend claims that after a native chief named Croatan lost his life, they buried him in the middle of this circle, and nothing will grow here out of respect for the great chief. Another strange connection to this third theory is the idea that the lost colony of Roanoke met up with the same tribe, leaving the word Croatoan carved into the tree to let those who would be returning for them know that they would be heading to this ancient battleground.
Interesting.
I thought that was a cool little aside.
Yeah.
In the 1930s is when the story takes another spooky twist. The Chatham Record wrote, quote, "For more than 100 years, and how much longer no one apparently knows, this spot has not materially changed appearance." And it was in the same year that claims of a great black beast would appear in the woods chasing hunters and their dogs away. Quote, "There is a story current of how coon and possum hunters and their dogs have been on more than one occasion chased from the vicinity of the Devil's Tramping Ground by a ferocious beast said to resemble a black bear."
Oh my god.
Terrifying.
I was gonna ask if it was like an animal figure or what it was, but oh wow.
It was just very large.
Huge.
And just black as night. Interest in the site remained, and in 1946, W.A. Bridges Laboratory took soil samples from the circle and surrounding area to run tests to see if it would be able to understand why nothing would grow here. They could find no reason, so sent more samples off to Dr. I.E. Miles, the director of the Soil Testing Division of the North Carolina Department of Agriculture. So
he knows
an
his
official guy.
his soil.
Yes. Yeah. Those tests determined that the soil was sterile, possibly from high salt content, but couldn't figure out how the circle was made and how it remained for so long.
And especially if it's in the shape of a circle. Like, it'd be different if it was just some kind of like odd, just like patch. But the fact that it's just like a ring.
So some believe that it is an old salt lick and that deer and other animals have kind of trod around like licking it and getting what they need from it. So that's the theory for it. But there are other spots in the area with salt, and none like the Devil's Tramping Ground. There was more testing done on the soil and its salt content, but they found that it wasn't so high, like more recently, and they found that it wasn't so high that nothing would be able to grow in the soil. So the mystery really remains. Like, they did more testing. There is salt, but it's not high enough to keep vegetation from growing.
Is it alien?
Possible.
Is that a theory?
There are other theories.
That's the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, some believe that it could be the site of a UFO landing. And just as we've spoken before, it's possible that the extraterrestrial craft contains some kind of chemical or radiation or other kind of reaction to the soil, causing it to become barren from then on.
Yeah. See, call me crazy, but that's the first thing, and that actually makes sense to me.
You?
Yes.
Yeah, especially with other places having the salt content like that.
Yeah.
Like, maybe there's just a lot of little salt, I don't know what they're called, patches?
Deposits.
Yeah. In the area. But for it to be a completely barren circle like that, yeah, spacecraft makes sense to me.
That's the first thing I was thinking.
But the most widely believed, or at least told, is that of the devil himself. It's believed that he takes a path through those very woods in North Carolina, and during the darkest nights, deep within the trees, he paces around and around in a circle, plotting, planning, and scorching the earth with every step.
Why North Carolina, though?
He also went to Georgia.
I was gonna say that, and I hate you so much.
You made that joke before.
I know.
And I think of it often.
I know.
Well, we have a couple stories. You'd like to hear them?
Of course.
It was the fall of 2009, and at the time, I was 16 years old. I live in the central part of North Carolina. Nowadays, the cities are loaded with things to do for the Halloween season, but back then, the best form of entertainment I could come up with was to visit the Devil's Tramping Ground with a few friends. The Devil's Tramping Ground is a local legend. It sits right outside of Siler City, North Carolina, about an hour away from where I live, and I had just gotten my license, so why not? Siler City is a sticks and barns town with long, barren roads that seemingly translate to, "Don't stop until you get the hell out of here." It was on one such road where I began to feel uneasy. Rural areas always have that heavy Twilight Zone energy, and the road we were on, conveniently titled Devil's Tramping Ground Road, because it is named Devil's Tramping Ground Road.
Why?
Playing it up, I guess.
I guess, but can't we just call it like Busy Bee Street? I don't know, like something cute.
It was completely lacking streetlights. The only thing illuminating the overworked asphalt was the fading yellow headlights of my 2002 Mercury Cougar and the useless glow of a crescent moon. In those dim lights, we began to see splattered graffiti on the road leading up to the location. Creepy things I didn't expect, but never really would have understood the impact of until I saw them. In white paint, the road was decorated in crude warnings. The one I remember most was, "The devil lives here," and a huge white cross in front of an opening in the forest.
I've seen enough at that point.
I'm
going
just turned
home.
back around. I parked on the side of the road. The grounds were immediately not as creepy as I expected. It was not too deep into the woods. In fact, the clearing could be made out from the road. Not as menacing as I had imagined. Maybe it was the empty beer cans or red Solo cups lying all around. Obviously, people partied there. Or maybe it was the jokes my friends and I started making almost immediately that calmed my nerves. But it was 2-something in the morning, and we decided to catch Lucifer right on his hour, and I remember feeling less on edge than I was on the road. My flashlight would get eaten through the trees if I moved it upward, so I focused its beam on the soil, truly more interested in finding signs of the paranormal than my friends were. There were 4 of us in total. 2 of my friends went back to the car after a while. It was cold, and there was not much to see. I stayed back with a buddy of mine. I brought a Ziploc with me, along with a pocket Bible, a rosary in my pocket, just in case, and a stuffed rabbit that one of my best friends had given me. Before leaving, I scooped some dirt up and added it to the Ziploc. I found the prospect of dead soil so interesting and figured that maybe studying it under proper light compared to other soil would give me a better idea of what happened here. Alien radiation, climate change, sulfur, maybe the devil was just busy that night. Because they didn't see anything yet. In between jokes and complaining about the cold, we heard someone walking in the depth of the woods. This wasn't a mistaken sound. This wasn't an, I think someone is walking in the woods. This was a definite sound and a definite feeling. This was deep behind the brush between the trees, and these footsteps were heavy and unashamed of being heard. This was the first time I noticed no crickets were in these woods. There was no sound other than us and these steps, and I was even more unwilling to lift my little flashlight. My eyes didn't need adjusting, and so we stood there as I made out the shape of something in these woods. It was dark, but I could see it. It was tall, but not disgustingly tall. It was human-shaped. It stood on 2 feet. It would walk and stop, then walk and walk, then stop. We were petrified. Neither my friend or I moved. I don't even think we breathed. I was so overcome with fear that I felt numb, but a little tremble ran through my entire body. We just stared. Later, we would discuss how we both wondered if it had seen us, and talk about how we didn't want to move in case it hadn't. At this future time, we would also discuss the smell. It was an awful, putrid scent. Burning feces and rotting eggs and rotten meat. I grew up Catholic, hence the Bible and rosary, and have always been told that smell means the devil is around. That didn't help my case then. Even typing that now, I'm slightly trembling. This thing stayed toying with us among the sticks of the forest. I was certain at one point that it saw me. I had that sixth sense feeling I was being stared at right back, and suddenly I had a feeling of overwhelming, unbearable despair. I realized then that my friend had been clutching the back collar of my shirt. I think I was so paralyzed with fear that I had ceased to feel anything but that numbness. I wasn't even cold anymore. But when I felt my friend's hand, I dropped everything in my arms and stood up, then went back to the car. Not running, just very hurried. I was sure my friend was behind me, but between us, and in all honesty, I didn't even think about that at the time. I was just ready to go. I was so ready to go, in fact, that I missed the clear path completely and took off in between trees and brush, heading toward the yellow glow of the headlights. It wasn't an incredibly long trek, like I said before. The road was right there. But it felt awful and long to me. And it was enough for those tiny branches to leave little scrapes and even some cuts down my cheeks, hands, and neck. The whole ordeal can't have lasted too long. When I got back to the car, the keys were already in the ignition. The other 2 friends had turned the heat on, and they both asked me what happened. The friend who stayed behind with me got in the passenger seat soon after, and we took off. Our other friends, the ones who had been in the car, pointed out that our eyes were swollen and bright red. I think we had been crying, or at least it looked like we had. I looked in the rearview mirror and my pupils were abnormally dilated. My eyelids were puffy and tender and red. Keep in mind, this all could have some form of explanation. Maybe the fear made us cry without us knowing, and maybe the darkness combined with our nervous reaction enlarged our pupils. But it was still very odd. I realized long after that I left my Bible and my stuffed rabbit and my Ziploc bag of dirt in the circle. I considered going back the next day in broad daylight, but I haven't been back there since.
Oh my god.
Isn't that so scary?
I feel numb. I don't know.
I know, I felt like I was there the way they told that story.
Yeah, that was well written, but you know that feeling when you're running because you're scared, but you feel like your legs can't move fast enough?
Yes,
and it's
like you're in
trying
cement
to
or something.
Suck your body forward and you're like, ah! I felt that sensation when they were saying they were running. I was like, go, go, go. Oh, God.
The fact that they felt like it saw them.
Yeah, that was too much.
And the smell, too.
The smell.
Like, there's something demonic out there, for sure.
That is so scary. A well-written story because I'm
sweating.
Into it the whole time.
I've read this several times.
Oh my gosh.
I have one more. It wasn't as scary to me, but it was a little freaky. I have a friend who is really into the paranormal, like myself. Let's call him Jake. It was October 2018, and we just wanted to go ghost hunting or explore supposedly haunted buildings or areas. We had been researching and decided our drive limit was 4 hours. I came across a place called the Devil's Tramping Ground. At the place, there was a circle in the woods that can't grow grass, and the trees make a circle around it. As legend has it, the devil himself uses that circle of sand and dirt as a portal. He comes to Earth at night and stomps on the ground, pacing back and forth. We read that if you tried to sleep there on the circle, you will hear a soothing female singing, which will put you to sleep, and then you will wake up in a different location. So what did we do? Brought tents, sleeping bags, chairs, and beer, of course. Jake and I were planning our trip, and another one of my buddies caught wind of it. Let's call him Nick. We were all set to go on Friday night around 8 p.m. We get off the highway, it's close to midnight, and we have our GPS on, and it had us go down the only road with no streetlights. We start driving down the narrow, dark road slowly, so we can find the clearing for the Devil's Tramping Ground. There was something odd about this road. I kid you not, we were being chased the entire way by about 10 dogs and one black dog. Every dog was barking except for that black dog, and he kept appearing in the woods to the left of us and in front of us as we were driving, as if he was trying to turn us around.
Oh my god.
So are these like demon dogs, or are they like warning them?
Heaven dogs? They're like the ones like, no, please.
Don't go there.
Oh my gosh.
We finally found it, and the dogs didn't follow us that far. We parked and got out the flashlights first to scope out the area. I'm not going to lie, it was extremely unsettling, and we made our way up to the circle. It's about an hour later, it's quiet, and we have our tent set up on the circle, with our chairs set up surrounding our cooler. We were just telling ghost stories and drinking. Nothing really seemed to bother us, other than the occasional twig snapping that sounded like footsteps and the feeling of being watched. We just chalked it up to animals. It's now 2 a.m., so around the same time as the last person. I start to hear voices all around me, and I'm not the only one. It felt like we were about to be jumped by a group of men surrounding us, but we knew whatever it was wasn't human. The voices stopped, and at the same time, the car light turned on. We went to the car to find all the doors open. Unnerved, we slowly closed all the doors and went back to drinking. 2:30 a.m., we were all on edge. Not even drunk at this point because of the events that just took place. Everyone was silent. I could just imagine like that nervous like feeling. Everyone's just like,
that sobers you up immediately. And you're like, oh no. Yeah. Okay.
I could hear and feel my heart beating out of my chest. You'll never believe it. We all heard a beautiful humming coming from every direction. I wish I could describe how it sounded, but we knew that was not good. Without one word spoken, we all got up and went to the car and got out of there. We slept in a nearby Walmart parking lot in the car and went back the next morning for our things.
Smart.
Yeah.
Wow, finally someone is like, hey, we should leave. Oh my god, I thought this was going to go a lot darker.
Yeah, I saved it was like a less scary story for us.
After I think the dogs would warn me enough I wouldn't go, but after the first couple of sounds.
All of the doors being open in their car?
Get
suddenly
out of there. Get out. Because if it's not a demon, it's an axe murderer, and you're all about to be done. Like, Oh, that's like Scary Movie 101. All the doors are open and like the horns honking. Like, get out.
Yeah, those really freaked me out. The Devil's Tramping Ground today is like you can go camping on it and stuff if you want, but I think it's like private property and you have to like make a reservation to go out there.
Good.
There's a website I think you can like schedule your stuff.
I'm not doing that.
I wouldn't mind maybe in the daytime, not at night. I don't want to risk it. Like, what if the devil does happen to pop in the daytime? I wouldn't mind seeing it. Like that sounds cool.
I would like to see it, but yeah, in the daytime with a bunch of people, not just like a couple, like a group, like a tour
like
group.
10 deep.
Yes, and we're all on a bus, and it's like, you
can't drive through the woods in the bus.
We bus in. The North Carolina native is like, hey, here it is, and we all go, wow, and then we get on the bus. Because that's the extent. I wouldn't go as just like a little group of 4.
I think I'm with you, honestly. I think I'm with you.
Because
I'd rather be with a large group.
There's a chance that I'm not faster than 3 people, but I know I'm faster than someone in a group of 10.
You're evil.
I'm just saying, like, I have to know that I can outrun
at least
a
beat
few
somebody.
people. Yeah.
That's really scary.
But, whew,
well,
I'm freaked out.
Those are haunted woods.
Yep.
So if y'all have any other suggestions for us on any haunted woods, maybe you live near a haunted forest or something, let us know. I'd love to do another episode like this.
Yeah.
Obviously, we really enjoy them. So
I'm intrigued by the woods.
What was your favorite one?
The last one.
The last one for sure?
Yeah.
Mine too.
Yeah. Because the others were like fun and witchy and but that one's just dark.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Both of those stories, really all the stories that I read, but especially those 2 stories, they were like, I felt
it felt
darkness.
scary.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even the singing, like if it's beautiful singing, like, first of all, if I heard beautiful singing in the woods all alone, like that would be scary. But beautiful singing, you'd think like it'd be more comforting, and they were like something like this is darkness. This is evil.
Because it tries to make you feel okay. Like that's why it's
lures
beautiful.
you in.
Never.
Well, that's what we have for you today. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us on all of this. Let us know if you have any suggestions on what we should research next. We've got a long list, like into April of next year already. So
yeah.
But we are still adding. Every time I get a suggestion, I'm like, boop, writing on my list. So
we'll take them all. Listener stories too. We've gotten a lot lately.
Oh yeah.
And I'm very excited. So keep them coming because it's going to be a fun episode.
Oh yeah.
I haven't read them, but I've seen the long comments and I go, oh, because I save it.
A couple of episodes, really.
Yeah.
We have a couple of listener stories coming up for just in time for spooky season. I've been kind of saving them for that because they are our favorite.
I can't wait.
What better than telling spooky ghost stories in October?
Oh yeah, and it feels like on YouTube it's the favorite because every time we post like a strictly story episode, people are like, yes.
Yeah,
so,
I agree. Let us know what your favorite kind of story is, or favorite kind of episode is too, because we'd love to give y'all what you want to.
Yeah,
we're having fun. We want you all to have fun too. Follow us on Instagram if you'd like to. Leave us 5 stars if you're on podcasts, and if you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. We've got a lot coming. And like this video, leave us a comment. Leave us a tree.
I was gonna say tree. Leave us a tree.
Good, we can agree on this time. Leave us a tree emoji in the comments if you're still here. If you have a spooky story, it's best to email it to us, ghostiespod@gmail.com. That's the easiest way for us to kind of keep track of everything, because we are getting a kind of an influx of them, so it's easier so you don't get lost in the mix.
Yep. Goodbye.